Have you ever wanted to be the first to know if aliens really exist? Well, with Nebula, you can be! Nebula is the streaming service that's home to It's Probably Not Aliens, as well as our YouTube channels. And the best part? All of our content goes up early on Nebula. So when we break first contact with ET, you'll be the first to find out. That's right, you'll be able to listen to the next episode of this show before anyone else. Plus, we post bonus content that you won't find any other place. And the best part? By signing up for Nebula at nebula.tv/probablynotaliens, you're directly supporting the show and both of us. So don't wait any longer. Join Nebula today and be the first to know if this time it really is aliens.
I don't know why I did a bip. I don't know why I did it with my voice. Q&A.
You should get a audio thing of you going just go pew, and then you can set it up with the things you can push it multiple times,
and then I'll just record. Yeah, I'll just do it. That'll be fun. Q&A questions.
We're gonna ace some cues. This is gonna be a tough one. I feel like this is gonna be a so to kind of, first of all, if you're listening to this, thank you for supporting us, because this is a Nebula /Patreon exclusive.
Is it?
thing.
I thought the next one was going to be, and this was going to be.
The next one's going to be. Well, there we go. So the next one's going to be, but this is like a kind of taste of what our end of season.
Yeah.
You know what's it called? The elation at the end of the show, like once the play is over, where everyone is happy, and that's usually when they go get shit faced.
Yeah, and this is our after party.
Exactly.
And so we're going to do one of these after every season. We've done Q&A episodes in the past on this show, and we like doing them because sometimes they're alien related. Sometimes they're just questions that people ask us, and they have nothing to do with this show, but they're fun to answer to get to know me and Tristan more. And this one's going to be available for everybody, but I think it'll be the last Q&A episode available for everyone. And then from here on out, all these Q&A episodes will be exclusive to people who support us either on our Patreon or who subscribe to us on Nebula. That's patreon.com/probsnotaliens or nebula.tv/probablynotaliens. That's where you can go to support us and support this show. My name is Scott. I don't even know what any of these questions are yet. I'm excited to dive into it.
My name's Tristan, and today I put out a tweet about 2 hours ago being like, hey, we're going to do a podcast. Does anyone want to ask us some questions? And about 30 people replied in like the 2 hours we got there, which is like this tweet doing numbers. It's up to like 50 likes already. Like, I don't know.
Pretty good for our little social media channel over here.
Especially after we abandoned them for like now like going on 4 months.
At this point in history, peek behind the curtain, we are recording this before we have aired any episodes of this season that you have just listened to, and we have not posted for about 4 or 5 months. We've not posted a new episode in that long. So the fact that people are still engaging with us.
We also didn't tell anybody.
Yes. And we forgot to tell anybody that we were taking a break. So people just thought we were gone. We got a lot of emails.
We're professionals.
We got a lot of emails from people saying like, you didn't even say goodbye. And it's like, no, we're not saying goodbye. We were taking a break. We just forgot to tell people. Anyway, let's answer some questions.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to go through this and put some names out. So the first question I've got here, though, what topic that you researched for the podcast so far has been the most interesting? Like where the research has been things you would have cheerfully done in another context?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, you're the one who does most of the research, so I can really only answer. I feel like I can only answer based off of the episodes that I've done for research, because I don't know.
You can reframe it and be like, "What is like a episode that like interested you so much that like it like piqued new curiosities?"
Yeah.
That like.
Well, so the funny thing is, this has already happened with us. So Tristan and I both have YouTube channels as well outside of this podcast. And when we were first starting to launch this show, we did do a crossover episode about the Eternals, Marvel's Eternals, and how they were inspired by ancient aliens. And so there was a lot of stuff that we have researched, that you have researched for this podcast, that I have retroactively like turned into research for my own videos. And I think the one that sort of inspired, or the one that sticks out to me, is probably the Brahma weapons, like ancient nuclear weapons. I talk weirdly about, anytime you and I make a video together, we mention nuclear weapons in some capacity, and it's
true.
Very
That's our original sin.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, the first video we did together was about Superman and nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Well, one, I did. Before we started this podcast, I did not realize just how metal Hinduism was.
Yes.
Like, I did not know about that kind of stuff, and I'm like, so that's been pretty cool. What's one that, like, I was like trying to think of one that, like, I didn't already kind of know the cool thing in the process of selecting it for the podcast.
Yeah.
Because like the first one that comes to mind is that is Graham Cock. Because Graham Cock turned like when Ancient Apocalypse came out, and approximately the entire internet told me to cover it. I watched it, and like I feel like that was one of the first times where I was like, I didn't realize how shallow the answers actually were.
Yes.
And I realized that Graham Cock was just like saying shit that he thought up when he was like really high.
Yeah, the bio episodes that we've done are typically my favorites, just because they sort of, I like any episodes that really tell a coherent story all the way through, and I like learning about, I mean, that's sort of what I like doing on my own like YouTube channel, is like looking into the history of different figures or different, you know, stories and things like that. I like that history that's a little bit more coherent than some other claims that we have to debunk, where it's just like, this is a person and this is their biography. On that end, I really enjoyed doing the research for the David Childress episode and sort of surprising you with that one. I thought that was very fun and left me with a lot of questions about, I think that we have addressed as well, about like his relationship with like, I'll say this in the most incriminating way. You know, David Childress's history with the JFK assassination, you know, that was very fun.
Man, you love hating David Childress.
I do.
Like, I can tell, I can feel the joy you get out of it.
I do. What a goober.
Yeah, it's self-described, described by other people as
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. I think that the coolest thing that I definitely like it's hard to say because the podcast kind of steered me in the direction, but definitely would have been something that if I didn't have to do it for content, I probably would have done it anyway. And that the answers that I got were like really surprising and interesting, was sort of this period about maybe like a year and change ago, when like everyone was really getting into UFOs.
Yeah.
Like when there was like when there was like the congressional hearing, and then there was that little like the alien mummy that was in Mexico, and like,
is it cake?
And the other one was like when the unidentified flying objects kept showing up over the United States, and they kept shooting them down for a period and like finding the real stories behind that was really interesting, and like I learned a lot about how politicians are like really easy to trick, and like other things like that. And I mean, I was really captivated by the period where like people started taking UFOs really seriously for a while. And I thought that like, it's like the kind of thing that I would have like obsessively researched and then done nothing with if I didn't have a podcast for it. And then the research I got to do let me learn a lot about how things are going. And
absolutely.
So that was probably my big one.
Very fun. I like it. Well, cool. Question answered, I think.
Thank you, Small Seal 17, for that one, whose name is History's Handsomest Monster.
I concur. I agree.
All right. Zach, or Hargreaves Zach, asks, what do you think of the theory that aliens caused life on Earth to start? It's an interesting possibility, or could it be forgotten, much like Prometheus?
We've talked about this before, right? Like a panspermia.
Yeah, I'm sure
sort of
it's come
thing?
up in multiple times. I so it's one of those things that the origin of the panspermia theory is that we have some genuine question marks in the answer to what's called abiogenesis, which is we don't really know how we got from not life to life. It happened so long ago. There's not really much fossil evidence from that period because bacteria don't leave great fossils.
Right. It
And
would have started. Life starts small. You
yeah,
know? Makes it tricky.
and also like what it starts as is like we don't really have we don't have other planets that are early enough in their development for us to like go look at like what like proto life looks like. The closest things we can think of, this is why we're so obsessed with them, are what are called archaea, which are sort of like bacteria that are like as close to like what really early life might have looked like, because they like
Sure.
and they like live in things like volcano, like they live in like hot springs and like random like deep underground and stuff, and they kind of challenge our, or like viruses, which kind of challenge our notion about what life actually is, because
Man.
by like viruses are kind of interesting because like they have RNA.
They're so small.
Yeah, they have RNA, but like they can't reproduce on their own. They don't metabolize. So like they lack several key definitions of life, but they're made of the same things that life is made out of.
They look funky.
Yeah.
I think there was a Jimmy Neutron episode where they fought viruses, and the viruses look like little robots. They're so interesting. At least some of them do.
They do look like the geometric shapes and all sorts of weird things.
Yeah. It's so weird.
The other thing is that I recently, over the last few months, read a book called Aurora by Kim Stanley Robinson. And in that book, not to give too many spoilers, but in that book, they discover a new form of life, and they struggle even until the end of the book to be like, what is this life? We don't know. Is it like, or is it just like a protein? Like what, like, and so like, to put it all together is just that like, we don't really have a really good idea of what like that really, really early life is like. Remember we had an astrobiologist on the show a while back, and she kind of explained how it's like she's actively doing science to try and answer that question.
Yeah, I think to get to the root of this question, though, because I don't think Zach here is asking, is it true? I think he's more so asking, what do you think about it? Do you think that it's a good, that it's even a good question? Because he asks, like, is it an interesting possibility or should it be forgotten? I don't think it should be forgotten, right? I think it's an interesting, like you said, there's people actively doing research about it right now. I think it absolutely could be possible.
Yeah.
We just don't know. It's
possible and also not necessary, because as far as I can tell from the people who work in like astrobiology and stuff like that, that Earth very much had the chemicals that you needed to make life happen at the early stages when we think life happened. Now, if we do find out that panspermia does happen, that'll be really interesting, because it shows that like one planet doesn't necessarily like life isn't necessarily contained. Ecosystems aren't contained to one planet. Because like if like, and this is another thing that I don't at me because I haven't done the research on these, but I feel like I want to do episodes like a Gazette or something on these two. But like in the last few months, we've had two really interesting kind of things. One was that a Mars rover found some rocks that have signs on them, like sort of like things on them that we are
like the movie Signs.
Well, they have what are called leopard spots, and these leopard spots.
There are leopards on Mars.
There are leopards on Mars. What these leopard spots mean, like when we see these on Earth, they are sort of like the fossilized remains of very early like bacteria. It's sort of like it's like what bacterial mats look like when they fossilize. And we don't know until like sometime in like a decade or two when they send this sample back to Earth somehow, that I don't really know how that works. But there's like a lot of things where like this is like a place where life had a really good chance to show up. Like it's like it's supposed to be like an ancient lake bed potentially. And it has like a lot of other things that like like chemistry wise and physically wise, like that life could be on. And so if that comes back, that could be very interesting. I mean, it'll also be terrifying because the Fermi paradox gets more scary if we find more life in our solar system. But if it came from Earth like a long ass time ago, or if what came to Earth came from Mars a long ass time ago, then we could kind of see the solar system as an ecosystem, or it's going to be that. The other story is that a few years ago, phosphine gas was found observed in the atmosphere of Venus.
Okay.
So Venus is the closest thing to actual hell that exists, right?
Cool.
Yeah, its atmosphere is made up literally of thick clouds of sulfuric acid.
Gotcha.
The Soviets landed a probe on the surface of Venus, and the surface was hot enough to melt lead, and also that probe. The probe lasted only a few minutes before it melted, basically.
Sorry, probe.
But the thing about it is that phosphine gas on Earth, the only thing that we know that makes phosphine gas on Earth is life, is bacteria and metabolism.
Makes it.
But then it got quickly shut down because other people did observations and they couldn't find this phosphine. Then the people who found the phosphine published another paper showing several other observations that also showed it happening, showing that the people who looked at it were not like looking at it at the right time of day and all that kind of stuff. And they were able to repeat the response. Now, they could also just be like still kind of p-hacking or doing something to make the numbers look better than they are. But the other thing that was found in there is ammonia. And ammonia is a very interesting chemical because it's basic.
Well, you don't have to insult its fashion.
So they found like little pumpkin spice lattes flying in the... But the main thing is that like ammonia, there are a lot of things on Earth that metabolize, that like excrete ammonia.
Sure.
And the thing is that if there was like in the upper atmosphere of Venus, like bacteria that lived like kind of how we have bacteria that live in the upper atmosphere, but the upper atmosphere of Venus isn't that hot. And their atmosphere is thicker, so like they have more things to work with. But if they're secreting ammonia as a way to like kind of deal with the very acidic environment on Venus, like there's two answers. Both of them are interesting. One, that there's some kind of chemistry happening on Venus that we don't understand that is making chemicals that on Earth we only ever see in biological processes.
Okay.
Or two, there's something alive on Venus.
There's something on Venus.
And the thing is that if that also ends up being true, then the Fermi paradox gets even more scary, because if life has independently evolved on 3 separate planets in our solar system alone, where the fuck is everybody?
Where is they're all here. They're all here. I'm back on Mars, and I'm wondering now, in hindsight, if I should feel bad for rooting for Matt Damon's character in The Martian, because now with this revelation that there are leopards on Mars, do you think he was just there to go big game hunting? That doesn't feel right to me.
Given the size, it's extremely small game hunting. These would be the world's smallest leopards.
Small leopards.
Which is basically a description of a cat,
an exception.
if you think about it.
I can make an exception.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the best part that I can think of. And that's so like the thing is like panspermia might make that more explainable, where like life started on Earth or Mars or Venus or something, and like asteroid impacts blew like bacterial spores into space that then landed and grew on those planets.
Everything's colliding.
Yeah. That might be like if we find that like life did exist on these planets, that might be like a way to explain those things. But because that seems to me a little bit more likely than like life evolved. Because either it means that means that happens, that life basically evolves pretty much everywhere where the conditions for it arises. Because if we're like batting 3 for 3 in Sol's habitable zone,
this place,
then that means that basically every planet with liquid water is probably going to have some form of life on it. In which case, the Fermi paradox gets a lot more scary, and also just like because of the Fermi paradox, I'm like more dubious of that. because that basically makes the Drake equation result in like there being a lot more life in the universe than we think there is, than we think right now. But panspermia, like the sort of spreading of spores through that, might be a better explanation, and that just
sure.
But I mean that's for decades in the future to even have clues as to that. So
to answer Zach's question, what do we think about aliens cause life to start on Earth? I think that intelligent aliens coming down to start life on Earth, I think is very...
No, there's no sign of
not.
that. Yeah.
I don't think there's any evidence of that.
If so, they are the worst. Their code etiquette is awful because our DNA looks like an
terrible.
All DNA shows plenty of signs that there is no designer at all because it's a mess.
It's a mess as far as we know. Who knows? But anyway, thanks for the question, Zach.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question is this is a meme question, but I'll take it because Maxwell Edison is a pretty regular person in my replies. Have you ever had a dream that you do you want to him to do you so much so you could do anything?
All the time, every day, every night. I have that dream.
That's a meme, right? That's like a kid.
Yeah, it's very cute. Oh goodness.
Excellent. That's I like turtles is my answer to that question.
I like turtles.
The next question we got here is from Kerr Raven or Casual Sarcasm 98. I don't know how to do the sort of Norwegian O over the A thing, but
sure.
Asked if we're going to cover the Travis Walton incident, which is the first I've heard about this. Yeah, this is something new, but I will. I mean, I keep tabs of these kinds of things, so I'll take a look.
A good old TWI, Travis Walton incident.
I'll take a look. Yeah, like
but
I haven't heard of it right now.
No, this is the first I'm hearing of it. Let me do a quick thing to make sure it's not problematic.
It just looks like a high-profile alien abduction case. So,
oh, okay. Some guy in Phoenix, Arizona, was abducted by aliens in 2019.
Apparently, he got this is the closest thing I can find, but I think it's the Wikipedia article is very funny because in the paragraph before his claiming of being abducted is that he said he watched a movie about the abduction of Betty and Barney Hill. And then the next paragraph,
flag there.
That's the first thing that comes up. But yeah.
Oh yeah, on the Wikipedia, yeah, it's like so. NBC aired the UFO incident, and then pretty much immediately afterwards, yeah.
So that's funny. And this is another one that I think would be really cool. What are your opinions on Mothman? He's just a little guy.
Okay.
From Mothman Izzy.
I've recommended this podcast before on our podcast. But Emily has friends and they're very nice friends. I've met one of them before, but I've met both of them now recently who have a podcast called My Cryptid's Keeper. So if you're into cryptids, highly recommend that podcast. Similar vibe to me and Tristan, but I believe they're both sisters. And are just, it's more of a vibe. It's more of a vibe hangout, talk about cryptids than it is about us debunking aliens. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But go check it out. Very good stuff.
And Mothman. So I know that Mothman's a bit of a meme.
Mothman's a bit of a meme.
So I mean, like, I believe, like, I haven't, like, Mothman's never captivated me like a lot of other cryptids have because from what I recall, it's like it's there's not really a very compelling case for it. Like it's closer to a ghost story than an actual cryptid because it's like associated with like one bridge or something like that. Or but so my main thing is that, like, I mean, I think that cryptids are interesting in the sense of like what they represent in like a sort of socio-cultural phenomenon, like they're like interesting ghost stories or like legends and things like that. Obviously I don't believe in the Mothman that feels like redundant to say on this show, but I haven't been bitten by like the Mothman meme bug like a lot of people have.
Yeah, it doesn't really come up in my circles too much. I think Mothman looks cool, and if Mothman were a cool little creature in like a movie or show.
Does Donnie Darko have something to do with the Mothman?
I don't know. Don't ask me questions about movies, Tristan. We get in so much trouble on that for that on this podcast.
I feel like it's kind of a hard question to answer what Donnie Darko is about anyway. So
that's fair. Hey, I'd like to address two questions because they're somewhat similar.
Sure.
So 510 Brother Panda asks, with Alien Romulus out now, is anyone going to cover the rabbit hole that is the parallels between Alien and Metroid franchise? And then Rocket City QC asks thoughts on about the xenomorphs and the Aliens parentheses versus Predator franchise as a whole. Do you like the Alien movies?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's unfortunately, there's a lot of bad ones now, but like Alien and Aliens, like those two are 1-2 punch of fucking amazing movies. Even Alien 3 has its moments, but then the Joss Whedon Alien movie happened, and I think it was pretty much done from that point.
The only xenomorph movies I've seen are Alien, Aliens, and then the very first Alien versus Predator movie, which I watched so many times because it wasn't scary. It was just like campy blockbuster action movie. If memory serves of when I watched it, I was a kid. So yeah, I think the xenomorph design is very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I fucking love H.R. Geiger, and I mentioned on here before that I'm like a really big fan of dark surrealist art. Like that's like my favorite kind of like art genre. And H.R. Geiger and like Stanislav Beksinski are like two of my like favorite artists. And like now that I have a little bit of like spending money, I'm like seriously considering getting some prints by them. So
yeah. And then to sort of follow up on that about talking about Aliens and Metroid. The only Metroid game I've ever played is the Metroid Dread, which is excellent. But I found myself slipping into a fun little hobby of retro handheld. So I got myself a retro handheld, and I've been playing some old games that I have not played because they were either before my time or I just didn't have the system to play them on. My family didn't have a lot of like video game consoles growing up. So I played a decent chunk of Super Metroid, which is also very good. And I want to go back and finish it. And I think the other one or at least a other one that people like is Metroid Fusion, which I also want to play. I've not played, but if anyone has recommendations for like good Metroid, like what of the Metroid games are the good ones, let me know because they're very fun. I love a Metroidvania. Yes, please. Have you ever played a Metroid game?
I have played one Metroid game in my life, and it's a good one, and it's one of my favorite games. And it is the Nintendo 64 game Super Smash Brothers.
Nice. That is until I played Metroid Dread like 2 years ago. That is the only time that's the only thing I knew Samus from for most of my life was, the character from Super Smash Brothers.
And I've only ever played Super Smash Brothers, like the N64 one. Yeah. And I was almost exclusively a Kirby player. So I have occasionally eaten Samus and had her little ball ability, but that's about it.
I don't play Super Smash Brothers because I'm not very good at it, but I did play Nintendo 64, the original one, and I was a Captain Falcon main. So I just like character. And nowadays when I play the new Super Smash Brothers, I just go to Ganon or whoever I always get confused between Ganon and Ganondorf because I'm not a real gamer. But I like the characters that are slow and punch hard, so I don't have to think. I just sit in one spot and load up a punch and then wait for someone to walk into my field of view. And that's what I do. That's how I play video games.
I'm always looking for like the night piece of the game. like something that moves in a weird way that I can like get used to and like kind of
you get really into Ness. Yeah,
that's why that's why I really liked
Pikachu.
Pikachu. I also had some good moments with, but
you were just like my brother. My brother would play these characters when we played against each other. I would be Donkey Kong or Captain Falcon and just load up a punch ready, and he would be zigging and zagging all over the place, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah, like I like Kirby because like when you were playing Super Smash Brothers, you could like he had a lot of abilities that were like dropping like a rock out of the sky, or like his like sword ability where he like flips up and he comes down really fast, and and he flies. And so I like that his like movement is so different from the other characters, and that you can use that to like, you know, like because they're so used to playing against other types of characters that you can like use that to kind of throw them off balance, because you can be like, you could just
that's true.
You could fall off the edge and then float up and come up behind them, or like, you know, or blow them up in the air and then slam them down and go up a level or something. Like anybody who knows, I know that Super Smash Brothers has like an esports scene,
it's
and
so
like
competitive.
Yeah, and so like everyone is like, you are saying the dumbest possible things right now. And I know that Kirby is like not exactly a meta character. So
my our mutual friend Phil Tulak, who's hosted who's DM'd stuff on this podcast before for us, once asked me when we were just hanging out together, he was like, we're gonna play Super Smash Brothers, so like what kind of Smash player are you like, it's like he said a bunch of terminology of stuff that I've never heard of. He was like, do you like characters that are good like edge defenders and like things like that? And I'm like, Phil, I don't know what you're talking. I literally just downloaded this game right now to play with you. I don't know what this game. I haven't played since N64 because my family never had video game consoles past like the Nintendo 64. I don't know what to do.
My Super Smash
games.
Most of the Super Smash Brother hours that I put in were at sleepovers. So like, you know, that's my like, you know, background. Okay. So that's where we go on Metroid. Is it too late to send a question? Obviously not. Mantequilla or Paul, are you still doing episodes? Well, you're listening to one right now. So
yeah.
Over the course of this episode, were there any topics during the research process that had you believing, even if it was only for a moment?
That's from dog_seat.
Yeah, backseat dog. That is a really good question, and I would say that
really good question.
The closest that I have gotten is that I have, and there are still several topics where like I think I even say in the episode where like I'm like gonna, you know, default to the null hypothesis because it's the more likely answer that this is true, but it's one of those ones where if it turns out to have been something, then I would be like not surprised. Like the space potato. If it turns out, especially with this like new stuff coming from Mars, like if it turns out that Al the space potato actually did contain fossils of like extremely small like life that we don't really have like much of a comprehension of, that like if it turns out that is the case, in like once we like, if like, you know, if it turns out that Mars did have biology on it at one point, and we learn that, and we learn to understand Martian ecology, and then we go back to Al and find out that it actually was like a fossil of one of these things. And then I would be like, that doesn't surprise me, because like I could see that. And like, and so like that would make sense. And things like I think I even started the episode with like saying that I was pretty not very convinced, but I was kind of intrigued by Oumuamua and the sort of claims that it might have been a solar sail at a certain point. That has been largely debunked by this point, but that one intrigued me. And again, I'm probably going to be like, you know, eating crow in like a few weeks when this episode comes out, and like actually this episode's coming out in like December, I think, so it's gonna be a few months.
This episode's taken a while.
But
we are recording in August, just so everybody knows.
But if it like turns out that like all that Venus and Mars stuff, like, or that Venus stuff, like that stuff seems intriguing to me, and I like wouldn't be too surprised if like we haven't done episodes on those topics, but if like those turned out to be something, that would be cool, or at least that wouldn't surprise me. But that's me being very optimistic.
I think for me it's like when we talk about ancient like inventions and things like that. It never crosses my mind that an alien got involved there. Like I always just chalk that up to like, wow, humans are so cool and creative and smart. It's usually like specific accounts, specific stories that like to me are like, for a fleeting moment, I'm like, wait, what? The one that comes to my mind is one that I did the research for. You weren't around, Tristan. I think I did it for Kevin, who's been a guest on this podcast a couple times. Not the Hollow Earth, but the follow-up. When I was doing Hollow Earth, I was researching the Hollow Earth theory, and then I was like, I have this other thing that I discovered about this one guy who apparently like flew a plane into the middle of Earth, but I'm gonna have to come back to that. And then I eventually like did an episode about it, and as I was like researching it, I was like, there's no fucking way. There's no way. Like, why, if this is real, how come this is the first time I'm hearing it? And then like, as soon as you like look into like why, how it was debunked, you're like, oh, that makes sense. So like, there are moments like that, like it's usually like specific events where I'm like, or like specific historical accounts where I'm like, oh, I could maybe see that. That's interesting. But then once you learn like, oh no, this person just lied. They just lied. And like everyone is misremembering this thing. Okay, cool. Then it's, it's whatever. But like, yeah, there are absolutely moments on this podcast where I've been like on the edge of my seat being like, that can't be right? That can't be true. But yeah, it's usually the very specific, like personal stories.
Yeah. All right. Next one we got here is from Travis Bass. Whose at is Basquatch56. That's just a pretty good name.
Nice.
Will there be a Bigfoot and UFO episode that'll discuss how they distort indigenous myths and cultures? We have done it for UFOs. We haven't done a Sasquatch episode. I feel like there's going to be like a cryptid episode. I feel like
we've done one about like a swath of cryptids in general that we've talked like a little bit, but we've never done a specific focus on
Bigfoot.
On Bigfoot, yeah.
But yeah, there a lot of like Bigfoot mythos is like kind of bastardized indigenous mythology about like the from the Pacific Northwest and stuff. There's a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I like this next one from Cinta, and I'm just going to read it in the tone that it was meant to be. Scott, what is your favorite Scooby-Doo direct-to-DVD movie? Mine is Moon Monster Madness and Camp Scare.
That is a good one. I am biased because of this podcast. So I do like the Mummy one. What was that one called? Who's Your Mummy or something like that? Scooby-Doo Mummy. That was a fun one, and it is a lot about it does have like a character in it who does remind me of Dave Childress a little bit, because he is like a modern day Indiana Jones sort of a character who is not as cool as people think. Yeah, that one is the one that comes to my mind. And I think I'm just biased because we talk about pyramids so much on this show.
Mine is going to be the only one of these that I've ever actually seen, and I watched it on Teletoon, which is sort of like the Canadian version of Cartoon Network. As it was being played as a TV movie, and that was Zombie Island.
Zombie Island, but that was not direct to DVD. That aired on Cartoon Network. Okay. But I like where your head's at. I was trying to go off of the actual prompt and not cheat and say a masterpiece, Tristan. Okay. Just so you know, I also like Zombie Island.
I remember being mad because I was like, wait a minute, it is supernatural? Fuck this. This undermines everything that Scooby-Doo is about. And you're like, and then you made a whole video being like, not really.
Yeah, I thought that growing up too. I didn't like it because I was like, but they gotta unmask somebody. But now I just have an appreciation of the whole franchise, and it's they're all good,
including Velma.
So moving on to the next question. The movie I was thinking of, by the way, was Scooby-Doo in Where's My Mummy? Not Who's Your Mummy?
Who's Your Mummy is the porn parody.
Yeah, Who's Your Mommy is what
are you
Velma
doing,
says.
stepmummy?
Who's Your Mommy is what Velma says to Seth Green's character in Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed.
Okay.
Anyway.
My Scooby-Doo interaction is really limited to the one frame per, like one drawing per 7 frames, rehashed, poorly edited
Yes.
1970s show.
Sure.
The OG.
The OG. I gotcha. Well, the first season aired in 69.
Okay.
At least partially. But yes, we'll count that as 70s.
The one with the canned laughter and like,
yeah.
Ha
ha ha ha
yeah.
ha.
Okay, Reslan Gink Go asks,
Sure.
which topic have you covered that you would like to be real minus the inherent Fash connection?
Yeah, good question. I think it would be rad as hell if Renaissance paintings did actually depict UFOs and aliens. I think that would be rad as hell, dude.
That's a pretty good one, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like my first thought is, and I just can't escape it, it's like, well, if we could figure out if the Earth actually could provide free energy because it's shaped like a D20, that feels like the one that we should go for.
Yeah, okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah, forget what I said. I'm like, oh, cool, how aliens existed in the past and people painted them and it was cool. Tristan's like, yeah, that's nice, Scott, but what about like solving the world's like climate crisis?
Yeah, if we could solve the climate crisis by just like making triangular buildings or something, then that would be pretty rad.
Yeah, all right, fine. I'll say that one as well. Ethan
Manley asks, hey, how's it going?
It's pretty good. Pretty good. Late night, almost 10 p.m.
Yeah.
As we're recording. Tristan and I used to record in the mornings.
Yeah, then I got a job
like 12 hours earlier. Now we have to record at nights.
Yeah. Today was a particularly long and hard day at work because I'm a comms guy and we have a newsletter, and there's a bunch of stuff with the newsletter that can only be done the day before it goes out, and it goes out tomorrow morning. So today was me sitting at a computer and just doing extremely mind-numbing work for like a very long period of time, because it's a lot of just collecting links from a bunch of places and putting them in a big structured list, and it's just.
And now look at you. You're sitting in front of a different computer doing
fun stuff,
different mind.
And then when this is done, I'll probably go and load up a video game or something that will be a different mind-numbing thing.
Yay! My life screens on screens on screens.
God.
I love it.
Can
I ask you a question?
Sure.
Since we're on the topic. This is a Q&A. It's not limited to just the audience. We talked about video games a little bit. What video games are interesting to you right now? What are you playing?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm not even shitting you. I'm still working on my first Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. Still the first character that I made on the day that I got the game. Still working my way through.
I haven't beaten it either. I took a break because Emily and I wanted to play a co-op campaign together. And then we stopped doing that. And she was like, well, just play the game that you were playing all by yourself. Just play that save file. And then I tried. And between the last time I played and now, some update broke my save, and I don't know how to fix it.
Oh,
so no. I don't want to do another 200 hours of Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
It's such a good game, and I will finish it eventually, but I haven't played in many months because it broke my save.
I'm near the end. I just finished the Shadow Heart story. Like I just got
nice. Oh, so good.
It was good. It was pretty sad. I liked it.
It was, what's fun is like being at that part of the story and then going back to the beginning when Emily and I started our co-op campaign. It's just like how different Shadowheart is when at the end of her story versus when you first meet her. Mm-hmm. It's like she is so abrasive when you first meet her, and then it's like, no, you're the best person ever. I love her so much.
Well, I'm still playing my himbo dwarf who's being domed by my Klingon wife.
Yeah, of course. I am playing. As I said, I got a retro handheld. I've been playing a lot of games that sort of passed me by. I've played a lot of this game in the past, but I've never beaten it. Still haven't beaten it, but I've gotten further than I ever have. I'm playing Chrono Trigger right now, which is
I've had a lot of fun with that.
Extremely good game.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, big review from me. Critically acclaimed game Chrono Trigger is very good.
Yeah. A couple other ones that are just like sitting like one, I play a lot of Slay the Spire on my phone. I have been for like
Yeah.
years now, though. I play like Slay the Spire
Yeah.
like probably at least I probably do like one run of Slay the Spire a day, and I have been probably since like
Nice.
2022. Uh,
Nice.
I got Balatro a few months ago, and I enjoy that off and on. I would
Yes.
say like I'm trying. These are like all like the most popular games in some ways. Against the Storm is a game that I really is into, which is like a roguelike city building game, which
Okay.
sounds like a thing that is impossible, but it's actually really good. Um, Dyson Sphere program, which is like Factorio, but you can make like Dyson spheres and like have like multiple planets and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. The
Cool.
one that like probably is one that like isn't something that everybody knows is that I've been getting into competitive terraforming Mars, which is a board game, but has like a really popular digital version. And
Yeah.
I've been really getting into Lone Star, which is which is like a Chinese made roguelike that is really fun. And I'm thinking it's going to be a huge game someday,
Man.
but it is, I think it's still in early access. But I am really loving Lone Star. It's like a
Cool.
ship, like a spaceship game where I don't know. It's hard.
Oh, I like
It
that.
would be too much for one answer to a question to explain how
It's
Lone
a
Star
spaceship
works,
game.
but it's good. It's really good. It's like a deck builder, but it's also not a deck builder, and it's like
Oh, I love that. Oh. I love deck building games in general. So if people can recommend them, that'd be great. But also don't recommend them because I'm trying to play old games right now. The only other game I've been dipping into on my handheld is Mario Land or something like that with 6 golden coins, just because that is a Game Boy game that Emily's dad, my wife's dad, was really into,
nice.
and I want something to bond with him about. So I'm playing that game,
Okay.
and it's very good. Mario games are good. I love a Mario game.
Yeah, I again without any of the nostalgia for Mario. My first Mario game was Super Smash Brothers for the Nintendo 64. No,
Same.
yeah,
I mean, I didn't have, like I said, like I didn't have any Nintendo. The only Nintendo systems we've ever had is a Nintendo 64, and even then we didn't like have the Mario games for them. So the only like the first Mario game that I like quote unquote beat was Super Mario Odyssey. And I've played more Nintendo Switch Mario games, and I'm just like, man, Mario's so fun. He jumps around and it feels good. Yeah, man. I
mhm,
want to play more of these.
yeah. And I'm
Uh,
playing Super Hot on my Quest 3, and
nice.
Super
I
Hot
hear
is
that is
so
one
good
of
in
the
VR.
best VR experiences.
Yeah, Matt, aka Thought Slime, was like really, really like, no, you need to play fucking Super Hot VR, and I was like, okay, and then I was like, holy shit, is it fun? Um, let's see, let's get another question going. Ooh, okay. This is from Ben M. Davies. Where's the line you won't cross in terms of debunking something? Is there anything too outlandish, or are there conspiracy theories that you won't touch because they deal too heavily with real life events slash atrocities, even for Tristan? Oh,
That's a big question for you. I feel like we've dipped into a lot of very heavy, sensitive topics.
yeah. I think that there are some topics that so there's some times where like this is probably not what you're going for, but there's some episodes that didn't happen because there wasn't enough. Like where I went to go and
Hmm.
did like look into a claim to find out that it was just like it's literally like just one guy who very obviously made it up, and the
Right.
argument is like literally non-existent. So like the episode would have no like. Usually, like sometimes we've done episodes with that, but then I have like a larger contextual thing to talk about, and sometimes that just doesn't go into that. Um, the only other thing I can think of that like dealing with too heavy. So there is, I guess there's like one thing, and this is like a thing that when you're dealing with conspiracy theories, you kind of have to um acknowledge and play through and realize that like context is difficult. Is that some conspiracy theories come from living in low trust environments with authority figures, and
Hmm.
there are some groups like in America, like the African American community in America, where there's a high amount of conspiracy theories because there's a very earned lack of trust with authority figures. And there are
Hmm.
also, and so like sometimes I won't avoid these subjects, but I do think that they're usually ones that I will approach with some consideration and a little bit more of a more of like a attempt to dig more into and like build more. Like I feel like I'm gonna have to like do more work, not just to like debunk it, but to contextualize the belief itself as a sociological phenomenon. The other, and this is probably one that I don't think that I am the right kind of person to, we've talked around, but I wouldn't go deep into, because I think it would be inappropriate for me to talk about it, because it's like a lot of insider stuff with a culture in and of itself. And that is that there is, especially in the American Southwest, a high penetration of like the UFO stuff in the Native American community. Like it's and to some of them it's kind of a joke, and some of them it's kind of not, but like there are some cultures in like the American Southwest that have taken like UFO mythos and kind of incorporated it into their spiritual worldview. And it's not uniform across any culture. It's like, specific people, different leaders, different personalities. And all I can tell is from what my research around it is that there's a lot of Native American politics that have to do with this. And there's like a lot of like insider cultural stuff that I am not privy to. And like, we danced around it in a couple of episodes that we've done, but I didn't want to go too in depth into like the fights that are the sort of arguments that are happening in Native American communities about their own spirituality with their own people, because I feel like that is just not a conversation that I, as a white settler, has any place in, like either talking about and having an opinion on, or even just kind of like airing their dirty laundry on a public podcast. So I just kind of avoid it.
I would say another conspiracy theory that we probably won't ever touch is the conspiracy theory that we are being paid to debunk conspiracy theories, because if we spoke on that, that would breach our contract with the CIA, who told us not to talk about it. So sorry, guys. Can't speak on that one.
Don't want to do that one. Okay, let's try to do.
Here's a fun one we just got in from Political Mocket or Mach 1. If you could fight any member of the main ancient aliens, guys, parentheses, Von Daniken excluded, which would it be?
I mean, if I had
to fight them,
say that you said Von Daniken, I feel like I will obviously go for like the 80-something-year-old guy.
Yeah, if I had, hold on, yeah, if you're making me, it's if you could fight, not necessarily like if you could fight any of them, not if I'm making you fight any. If you're making me fight, I'm going for the weakest guy, who's definitely alive.
He's fine. He's healthy and everything.
He's healthy and alive, and everyone's told us that he's fine. If we could fight any of them, who would it be? I'm a lover, not a fighter. But if you made me fight any one of them, I would probably do my boy, David Childress. I feel like we match each other in our physical qualities of not being very strong.
Yeah, I guess that would be like, because I was like thinking like, I'm like, because like Giorgio probably like the thing is he's young enough that he could like
Giorgio's wily.
He could be ripped. I don't know.
He could be ripped. I think he's wily. He's a wild card. You never know what he's going to do.
Like
he's
a knife in his hair. It's like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh man. That, yeah, I'd say, Childress, I'd love to see I'd love to see his like what real life Indiana
his whip
Jones,
skills. See if he's got any whip skills.
Yeah. Poutine or chili fries? Asks, my name is Ella. I will be your instructor.
Is that how you, a Canadian, pronounce it? Because we say it again.
Poutine.
That's how you're supposed to say it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not so much that I'm Canadian. It's because I lived in Quebec, and Quebec. Poutine is originally from Quebec, and it's French, and Poutine is how you pronounce it in French.
Okay, well, for anyone else, he's trying. The Canadian is trying so hard to say the word poutine in a fancy way. Poutine. I've never heard that.
Oh
in
my okay, first of all,
American life.
It's so American to go like, because it's French, it's fancy. Poutine was invented for people who were awake at 4 a.m. in Montreal.
We don't think it's fancy. We don't think it's fancy. I just think the way you're pronouncing it is very different than what I hear in the heartland of this United States.
Poutine is literally like the French word for like a mess. And it was made for people in Montreal at 4 a.m. who are drunk off their asses.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Going to a place that's definitely going to get shut down by the health inspector, so that you can avoid a hangover. Like, that is literally,
those are the best foods.
Yeah, but like that's where it was born.
I love it.
But
yeah, I will give it. I'll give it. Yeah, poutine or chili fries. I'm giving it to poutine. I'm sorry, my man. It is like chili fries. I love you. I actually don't love you. I don't know why I said that. I was just trying to be polite. I don't like chili fries very much. Poutine's where it's at, my man. I love it. Gravy? Cheese curds?
Okay. I wouldn't be representing Quebec
Yes,
if I said it
please.
is not gravy. It is brown sauce. There is a difference.
All right, fine. But it's better than chili.
Yeah. I will say, poutine, as it is in Quebec, is like it's a slightly different experience than you're going to get everywhere else. Because everywhere else just went gravy and cheese curds. You're good. And then like Quebec, it's
please.
It's brown sauce and cheese curds. And brown sauce is a little thinner and more sweet. But that's a different thing.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I like that too.
You and I need to go to Montreal sometime. Let's do a show. Let's do if we can do a live show, let's do a live show in Montreal, and we will just get blackout lit, and then at 4 a.m. we will have poutine at a greasy place run by like Jean-Guy something, and it'll be you'll have the true experience. Okay, let's do.
What is did you answer the question?
Poutine. I think that to me, I'm like, you know what? Actually, I'm not even a fan of chili fries. Like
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. This isn't even a question. Chili fries are they're not even close to a top tier food.
Chili is too thick for like thing on fries as a combo to me. You know,
I would agree.
I agree. The chili overwhelms the fries. You're not getting much out of the fries in that situation.
I agree.
Poutine is like, because you're supposed to, because like with gravy, but also with brown sauce, it's like it's thinner too, so you get more of what
coats
get the fries.
Better.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do one more
question.
Let's see, what's a good one? Can I have $20? No. Okay, one more. Ooh, would be a really good one
if there is one more.
No, there's got to be a really good one that we can go with. What fictional alien would you want to meet?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, people have asked us what our favorite fictional aliens are, but that's different than which ones we'd like to meet.
So what kind of qualities are you looking for in a alien that you meet?
Well, if I'm Eric Von Daniken, the quality is, first of all, can I have sex with them? That is what he wrote into his book that everyone likes to talk about. So that's a pretty big one for me and everyone, I think.
Can I kiss them? Do they have big kissable lips?
Can I make alien human hybrids with them? That's sort of what his whole deal was. Von Daniken. Let's not forget that. That's what his whole deal was. Gosh, my instinct is just to say Garrus Vicarian. After that whole speech about having sex with them, I'm like, yeah,
Garrus,
he is charming and handsome. And I bet he has good stories. I don't like that he was a space cop, but he stopped being a space cop, so that's good. The only good space cop is one that doesn't exist anymore. So I think that's cool. That's my instinct. I'll think harder on it, but that was my first one from Mass Effect, Garrus Vicarian.
Okay. Well,
gosh, I could have just said Superman, right? How easy would that have been?
There you go. Well, that's better, because like my answer was the two Martian aliens from fucking Sesame Street, the ones that go like yip 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 yip.
So you want to meet them for what purpose? For what reason?
Because I love Muppets.
Okay, that's fair. Any excuse to meet a Muppet
You know what I'm talking about though? The ones that like they have like the triangle mouths and they go like yip 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 yip.
Yeah. Emily has told me if there's any way I can work my vague niche internet connections to let her meet a Muppet in real life, that would be the happiest day of her life. And we did have a wedding, but that would be the happiest day of her life, is meeting a Muppet.
I would like, I feel like there is a like, you know, we're doing multiverses now. There's a multiverse Tristan who went into Jim Henson's orbit because I love Muppets and I love like, I don't know.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. Yip, 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 yip.
Yip, 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 yip. So that's yours? That's your actual answer? That's who you'd want to meet? Fair enough.
mean, I guess I could go with like, I feel like the Arrival aliens would be pretty fucking cool to see in person.
Oh yeah. They're pretty cool. Learn a lot from them.
The pentapods or whatever they were called. Heptapods.
Understand time in a different way.
Yeah. Seemed like they got...
Your brain gets all warped.
Seemed like Amy Adams got a lot out of the whole ordeal, so that'd be pretty cool.
Got a lot out of it. She loves aliens. She loves Superman, another alien, who I mentioned earlier.
She really loves Superman.
She loves those aliens. What other movie is Amy Adams in that features an alien? There's got to be a third.
She was also in the Muppet movie.
And then those aliens must have appeared in some capacity. Who knows?
Oh, man.
Those are my answers. I gotta say a different one other than Garrus Vicarian, because that's who I said last time when someone talked about aliens and I mentioned Mass Effect.
People are thirsty for that living reptile pug.
He's like a catfish man.
Yeah.
It's hard to he reminds me of a catfish man. I don't know how people think of him, but that's how I think of him. He's a catfish man. I'm gonna Google
aliens.
Fun fictional aliens.
What was the one that Robin Williams played? Mork?
Yeah, sure. List of aliens. No, fun fictional alien characters. I don't want species. I want characters. They're just giving me like the fancy one, like the cool, like classic ones. They're giving me like E.T. and whatnot. I don't want that. I want that one non-binary alien from Lilo and Stitch with the one eye.
Aren't they remaking that?
I think they're making a live action one.
God, those are bad.
Is his name Pleakley? Pleakley. That's his name. I want to meet Pleakley. Pleakley is like if Roger from American Dad was just like normal.
All right, my answer is Roger
in terms
from
of like personality.
Or what's it called? The two guys from Solar Opposites. Oh,
that's pretty good.
Corvo.
All right, those are our answers. I want to meet Pleakley from Lilo and Stitch, and you want to meet Roger from American Dad.
Yep.
And also Muppets.
So how do we end this season? We're gonna do another one of these. I can't remember if the RPG episode comes before or after this one, but we're gonna do. So this is like the last time we're gonna touch base with people until the next season starts. The general thing is we took a long break, but that was also because I needed to find a job, and I have one now, and so and also I had like my job went through like I kind of hit the ground running because there was like we were short staffed. But now things are working themselves out. I'm already starting on the next season. It's going to be shorter, but it will be faster, and it will have angels. It's literally about angels. So we're going to do an angel season.
And we're supported by angels like you all who support us on Patreon and Nebula. But you're not angels. You're actually space potatoes. That's what we're calling you if you support us. You're little tater tots. I love it so much. Thank you so much for listening. Tristan, do you realize that we could have said any character from Star Wars? Didn't even cross either of our minds.
I don't. What? Star Wars, like Yoda. Oh, yeah, Yoda could
have
taught me the Force.
Said any character. Yeah, someone teach me the Force. I want to meet.
Sometimes, I get up and like there's something really far away, and I don't want to get up and get it. And then I'm like, I would love the Force in that moment.
I want to meet the one alien who is just a werewolf Halloween mask.
What was this like? Glup Shido.
I want to meet Glup Shido. Anyway, thanks for listening to the show. We're going to be doing more Q&A episodes at the end of each season, but only for the people who support us over at patreon.com/probsnotaliens and nebula.tv/probably not aliens. You can follow us anywhere. Like, you just follow at Probs Not Aliens on social media. And Tristan and I also have other things that we do. Tristan, what do you do on the internet outside of this show?
I have a YouTube channel called Step Back where I make videos about the world and why you should probably understand the past and see things in more dimensionality. That's the weakest pitch I've ever had for this channel, but it's basically like I talk about things that are going on in the world and how it's got more dimension than just like the last, like, like we tend to see things in very, very short stints or very, very short term.
Tristan's going to approach you like the aliens from Arrival, and he's going to mix up your brain so you see things differently and interpret the world differently and time differently. That's what he's going to do. Mm-hmm. You are Amy Adams. He is the aliens, who I believe have a name, but I don't remember what they are.
Mm-hmm. And Scott, if I wanted to figure out, if I wanted to see somebody fix Superman's black suit in Zack Snyder's Justice League, where would I go for that?
That's a good video because like half of it is me just preemptively arguing with the comments that don't exist yet, just to cut everyone off of the past. That's my YouTube channel, NerdSync, NERDSYNC. I'm working on a bunch of stuff right now. I do not know when this episode will air, so I can't tease anything. But if you like comics and superheroes and animation and movies and things like that, and you want to see my take on them, where I take them and I look at them through a lens of trying to learn about the real world, history and art and culture and fun things like that. That's my channel. Go check it out.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Like I said, and like I said, you can support us in all those places we mentioned earlier. That means a lot to us. You can rate and review this podcast on any platform you're listening to. That would mean a lot to us. That's a free way to help us out. And if you've already done that, then the best way to help out is just to tell people about the show. Spread it by word of mouth. Go talk to people in the past. Go back in time and talk to people about this podcast, and then forget that you did that, and then remember it later. I forgot how Arrival works. I forgot how the Arrival movie works. It's like very complicated.
They just experience time all at the same time. They're like the aliens.
You just experience it all at the same time. It's complicated. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, I guess that's everything, right?
That's everything. So until next time, until next season, which hopefully shouldn't be very long for you listeners. My name is Scott Nicewander.
I'm Tristan Johnson, and the truth is out there. Yip 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 yip. I can't believe we got this far before doing the Martians from freaking Sesame Street.
It's very good. I can't believe you didn't mention anyone from Star Trek either for aliens you would like to meet. But I guess when you got a Muppet on the table.
Yeah, it's true.
Muppet
Star Trek. Strange New Worlds. You did a musical episode. Do a Muppet episode.
Do a Muppet episode.